Number 10. Dogpool. We'll start off on a cute note, rather. Wade Wilson of Earth 103173, aka Dogpool, made his first appearance in Prelude to Deadpool Core Issue 3. Wilson was a dog being used as a test subject for Mascara X. Now, I love this version because it brings to light the animal testing for beauty products that happens, Mascara X taking place of the evil Weapon X in this story. So after the test went south, they thought the dog didn't survive. His body turned all corpse-like, it wasn't breathing, horrible stuff, so they got rid of it. But those healing abilities brought him back to life. He then broke out of the garbage bag and started walking around again. I thought cats were the only ones with 9 lives. What a sight to see. Now, these circus performers did see this. They were driving by and just happened to see this dead dog come back to life, so they used it to make some moolah. He became the main act of their circus, appropriately named the Death-Defying Hound. He was a circus performer until Wade Wilson, the main continuity Deadpool, showed up and then recruited him for the Deadpool Corps. The good boy met his fate in issue 1 of Deadpool Kills Deadpool, but he did so saving Wade, so it's a happier kind of note. Not really, but we'll say it is. Number 9. War. Earth 16558, our Deadpool gets an extreme makeover superpowers edition. He shows up in Extraordinary X-Men issue 8 and we only get to enjoy his presence for 5 issues. After Apocalypse returns in the early 21st century, he recruits Deadpool as one of his 4 horsemen. He recruits him for war. Deadpool and the other horsemen attacked Colossus, got him on the God Squad, and then together the evil team tracked down Storm and their young X-Men. In Extraordinary X-Men issue 10, the X-Men were actually defeated and the Ark, containing 600 mutant embryos, were taken back to Apocalypse. Things weren't looking that great with Wade on the bad side. When the X-Men invaded Apocalypse's kingdom to try and save the day, Deadpool fought back and went at it with Iceman. Now, Deadpool's mask gets ripped here, and then that's when you see Wade with his mouth sewn shut. Not again. We don't like seeing his mouth sewn shut. It's the opposite of what we want. Deadpool cuts his mouth open and you think he's gonna be like, help me, I don't know what I'm doing. But he actually just releases a swarm of insects all over Iceman, winning that battle in a gross, itchy way. But don't worry, Deadpool gets bugged himself later on. He'll soon know what that feels like. I'll explain more of that later on in this list. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up on this video, that would be awesome. Those likes add up and they really do support us and the company. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Let's get right back to this Deadpool list. Number 8, Deadpool the Duck. Howard the Duck has been seen in both Guardians movies and he was in Avengers Endgame. We see him gearing up alongside Earth's Mightiest. This dude has been in the same amount of MCU projects as Natalie Portman. Well, actually more, really, if you consider the main continuity. That's pretty insane. He's an important character. So when Deadpool the Duck came out back in 2017, fans were excited to see more of Howard. Howard's driving alone one night when Rocket crash lands into his car. Now he's about to congratulate Rocket on his recent box office success in Guardians, but he's rudely interrupted when the raccoon's eyes light up red and then he leaps at Howard. We got a classic case of space rabies. Some spazies. Some of them don't work. Luckily, this is Deadpool's story, so he comes in at just the right moment, and that's when him and Rocket start battling it out. Howard's trying to smooth things out while this is happening. He knows something's clearly off with Rocket. He's taking cover, he's just trying to stay out of the way. And then Deadpool shows back up in the middle of nowhere, questioning why he doesn't teleport more often, which is a great question. And then when he tries using it again, everybody gets fused together during this teleportation. Well, almost everybody. Number 7, Watari. First appearing in 5 Ronin issue 1 back in 2011, Watari is a completely different version of Wade. He's the Deadpool of Earth 11542, referred to in this universe simply as the Fool. The story takes place in 17th century Japan. Watari was one of the best and most dangerous samurai of that time. But like Deadpool of other universes, he was done dirty. He was betrayed by his own friends, he was ambushed by his allies, and then he was just left for death. He laid low for a bit, not by choice. I mean, his face was scarred up, he now had an alcohol problem. He hit rock bottom, but eventually he found his footing and got that long-awaited revenge. We see Watari the Fool make an appearance in Deadpool Kills Deadpool issue 4, alongside some other wacky versions which we can get into later on. Number 6, Dreadpool. In the reality of Earth 12101, the X-Men brought Wade to Dr. Den Brighton, aka Psycho Man, in an attempt to cure him. They wanted him to shut down the voices in Wade's head so he can be, you know, a normal civilian, but he didn't do that, did he? He actually did the opposite. Wade was now encouraged by all these voices in his head to kill the Marvel Universe, all those people, all those superheroes you love. about to meet their fate in a horrible way. He started off by going after the Fantastic Four. Reed and the Thing were gone in just a few pages, and then Sue Storm held Dreadpool off for a bit by making his head explode, which usually does the trick for most villains, but it's Deadpool, so once he healed, she was next to go. Like, the whole Fantastic Four family's gone in like literally 3 pages. It's so sad. Dreadpool then steals a device from Reed that he used to take down the Watcher. Even the Watcher isn't safe in this story, and neither are you. Check it out. Number 5, Evil Deadpool. Now, these names may start sounding a little bit confusing, like Dreadpool is an evil version that kills our heroes, and Evil Deadpool is the result of a collector with a gross hobby. That's right, Evil Deadpool is from the main 616 universe. He came to life in Deadpool Volume 4, Issue 44. Now, it all started with this young gal named Ella Whitby. She was a psychiatrist who was obsessed with Wade. She was so obsessed that she would keep body parts that he lost over time. He'd battle it out, lose an arm, she'd go in, carry it like Saving Private Ryan back to her house. Some of us had a rock collection, others collect kneecaps. That's fine, we're all different. So she would keep these parts in her freezer like a maniac right next to the jumbo freezies, and then when Deadpool found out about this horrible cold care package, he threw them all in a dumpster. This was actually the worst thing that Wade could have done, believe it or not, because once those body parts thawed out, they fused and grew back together to make this evil, much worse smelling Deadpool. Number 4, Headpool. Wade Wilson of Earth 2149 first appeared in Marvel Zombies issue 3. The Merc with half a mouth was among the population that gets infected in Marvel's zombie run, but then when he's transported to the main 616 universe, he gets taken by armor, and that's when things start to get a little crazy for this guy. He ends up in Savage Land, and believe it or not, the other version that helps main 616 Deadpool assemble the core that I've been mentioning this entire list was this version. The guy with no body, just a head, is actually the perfect sidekick. Minus the non-stop talking, of course. Number 3, Deadpool Kid. The Wild Wild Wade. Okay, an instant classic. Deadpool of Earth 1108 made his first appearance in Deadpool Merc with a Mouth issue 7. When we meet him, he's wanted for bank robbery, arson, putting together a literal stampede, all that Wade goodness. It doesn't matter what timeline you catch him in, shenanigans are in order, clearly. This Deadpool would constantly talk about how much he wanted to take over the town. He had his sights set on Sheriff Fury and of course bounty hunter Logan. This version's quite interesting, but let's be honest, a little limiting what you can do in these dusty towns. So after our 616 Wade shot him in the head and left him for dead, it wasn't until Deadpool kills Deadpool that we see this cowboy again. There's not much you can do in the Wild Wild West. I mean, seeing Wade on a horse or, shooting up saloons, it's cool, but limiting. Number 2, Wolverine Pool. First appearing in Cable and Deadpool issue 46, this Wade Wilson still gets the superhero upgrade, but when Weapon X decides to give him the adamantium treatment, things play out a little bit differently. See, later on, he's recruited by Dreadpool, that guy I mentioned, to take on the Deadpool core members, so he's evil. He was doing a pretty good job, that adamantium skeleton was coming in handy, but during a fight, our main 616 Deadpool tossed a grenade full of bugs at Wolverine Pool. Remember I said you got some with bugs earlier? This is payback. This is why you don't play with bugs. So that bug grenade went off and the bugs ended up chewing Wade apart, and all that was left literally was just that adamantium skeleton and claws. It's a pretty creative way to go out, but it's also really gross. It's kind of like if Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas were to take you out, or if that movie was rated R, it would look kind of something like this. And finally, number 1, Death Mask. On Earth 11683, Reed Richards was able to remove that lethal brain tumor from Wade's head, which opened an entirely new future for Wade. Now he was better than ever. There were no evil voices swirling around in his head. In fact, the only voice in his head was his own bright ideas. This Wade was in fact a genius. This keeps getting more and more positive. That's great. We love happy endings. Nice number 1 smooth landing. Did he solve world hunger? Did he stop floods? Did he cure diseases? No, actually. He was still a criminal, a master criminal, actually. See, with that brain, he ended up building an empire and went by the name Death Mask. So it was actually almost worse in this scenario. Just looking at his outfit, it's pretty obvious whose spot he's taking in this universe. He killed Victor Von Doom and changed a few colors to his evil getup, resulting in Death Mask, this red version of Dr. Doom. Even after Death Mask was beaten by our main Deadpool, it still didn't end. Death Mask then made a deal with Mephisto in order to release these horrible monsters on Earth and survive. One of those monsters was the Infernal Hulk. So he's full of brilliant ideas, they're just also evil.
In a 10, Deadpool. Little is known about Deadpool's life before the zombie plague arrived on Earth 2149. At some point though, he was infected and he attacked the Silver Surfer. He most likely fled the attack but also escaped the power cosmic zombies from getting himself incinerated and killed. He later was transported from Earth 2149 to Earth 616, calling himself the Merc with half a mouth due to his lack of most of his jaw, and exhibiting a wide range of knowledge. However, he was torn apart by some blades after Kale put some tricky maneuvers, resulting in Deadpool now reduced to only a head and being contained within armor. He managed to escape from armor headquarters with the help of Simon Garth by using the base teleporters to escape to the bottom of the sea, where Deadpool's head infected all of the menfish. Garth was compelled to travel to the island nation of Tiano in the Caribbean Sea, where he told Black Talon about the zombie plague. But like, look, normal Deadpool is bloodthirsty enough, but a zombie version that gets reduced to only a head and then still keeps going, that's freaking nuts. I'm also gonna not try to hold back my swears because it's Deadpool. It's fucking Deadpool. So sorry, editor, who has to deal with this.
No, it's fine. Fine.
And at 9, Dead Man Wade. Obsessed with feeling pain, Dead Man Wade Wilson became one of Apocalypse's Pale Riders, a team formed by Apocalypse's chief assassins. His teammate Danielle Moonstar took great pleasure in inflicting pain upon him, pretty kinky. But when Apocalypse learned that Nightcrawler was seeking out Avalon, he sent Wade and the other Pale Riders to follow him and destroy the refuge. Along the way, Danielle's torture of Wade annoyed their teammate Damask to the point where she strangled Moonstar to death. Watching that woman get killed unnerved Wayne even further. However, this version of Wade is also in constant pain, and even though he is in constant pain, his healing factor keeps him alive, meaning that he will never truly be freed. That is until Nightcrawler teleports his head off of his body, resulting in Wade dying despite being able to regrow limbs to a much easier extent than his 616 version. But hey, what am I gonna do? It's comics. And at 8, Dreadpool. In the reality of Earth 12101, the X-Men brought Deadpool to Dr. Benjamin Brighton in an attempt to cure him of his insanity. Unbeknownst to the X-Men, however, Brighton had in actuality been brainwashing his patients to do his bidding as opposed to curing them. Brighton's treatment failed to brainwash Deadpool and instead destroyed his inner voices, replacing them with a single voice that knew the entire universe was just a lie and encouraged him to kill non-stop. He then killed Dr. Brighton by smashing him into a release form after stating all the form needed was Brighton's stamp of approval. And by stamp he meant his blood. He then killed everyone in the asylum and then blew up the building. In order to end it all, he began killing the rest of the heroes of the world, and he started by going after the Fantastic Four, killing Reed Richards and the Thing first, then proceeding to kill the Human Torch. But Susan Storm caught up to him and blew his head off with a force field. But while she was grieving over the death of her family, Deadpool regenerated his head and killed her. Because of course he did. This version is a maniac, and honestly, I'm here for it. And at 7, Dogpool. Dogpool was once a dog known as Wilson, who was used as an animal test subject for Mascara X, which was intended to be a mascara that continually replenished itself after only one application. Instead, Mascara X disfigured Wilson and gave him the ability to heal from any wound. The lab owners didn't realize that he'd acquired this ability and tossed him in a dumpster. Wilson tore free of the trash bag and wandered around, rejected by all those who saw him, until he threw himself in front of a car. A circus truck saw it happen and stopped for him, and immediately recognized the potential in his regenerative abilities, and he became the circus's starring act. He went from being exploited by makeup companies to exploited by the circus. The death-defying hound, Deadpool. He worked in the circus until the Deadpool of Earth 616 showed up and recruited him for the Deadpool Corps. But a goddamn dog version of Deadpool? Hell yeah, that's horrifying. It's a fucking dog that enjoys killing people from what I saw. And he can't die. Like what the hell do you think? It's gonna be cute? And at 6, Galactipool. Galactipool is a member of the evil Deadpool Corps. He is seen to attack the remaining Deadpool Corps and their allies after they defeat the evil Deadpool Corps that was originally sent to kill them. But he's taken out when Lady Deadpool deliberately crashes the B. Arthur into his head. But let's be honest. Even if he did die, a combination of Galactus and Deadpool is certainly a terrifying concept. Like, if we talk about it, I feel like it's still giving this guy too much power. Like, what sounds even the slightest bit okay about this version of Deadpool? The only reason he isn't higher on this list is because we didn't really get much of an opportunity to see his powers in action. But assuming he had all the powers of Galactus, this is probably the strongest version of Deadpool there is. But this isn't the list of the strongest alternate versions of Deadpool, it's scariest. And while this idea is scary with no real situations to back it up, we don't know if this is a truly scary version in practice. Halfway through, in at number 5, Wolverine pool. Wade Wilson from Earth TRN 1946 was bonded with adamantium to his skeleton by Weapons Plus, their version of the Weapon X program. He was later recruited by Deadpool for his army. He killed Deadpool Pulp before the arrival of Galactipool. He was attacked by Deadpool with a grenade from which bugs came out of and then ate all of his flesh, leaving behind only a skeleton and claws, which is horrifying. His powers are seemingly the same as Earth 616 Wolverine, but like with Deadpool's body. So I mean, okay, it's weird because he looks like Deadpool, but he is also Wolverine. It's weird, okay? Wolverine Pool's healing factor though is most likely weaker than the 616 version of either Wolverine or Deadpool's healing factor, which makes him less dangerous, but come on. A combination of Wolverine and Deadpool is something that we should all fear, and most likely do fear. I'm surprised Deadpool didn't make this a thing at the end of Deadpool 2 though, when he was correcting everything that he did wrong, including the Green Lantern movie, which was actually Ryan Reynolds, but hey. And at 4, Evil Deadpool. The origins of the being known as Evil Deadpool are actually tied to Ella Whitby, a British psychiatrist obsessed with this superhuman mercenary Deadpool. She collected numerous parts of Deadpool's body that he had lost over the years and kept them in her freezer. When Deadpool found them though, he threw them in a dumpster in disgust, which is weird because I mean you're Deadpool, why are you disgusted? It's your own body, but whatever. The parts eventually thawed out, and since it still had Deadpool's healing factor, they all decided to fuse together into a single person. Evil Deadpool hijacked the private plane of an American businessman and traveled to the United States around the same time the original Deadpool did. And the two crossed paths for the first time after the Evil Deadpool blew up Deadpool's favorite chimichanga joint, and they fought until they ran out of bullets. Both Deadpools agreed for a second round at Canarsie Park though. Their second explosive encounter caught the attention of Captain America, who arrived to the scene after Evil Deadpool had escaped. But yeah, he's the whole reason for like the whole Deadpool core, so pretty fucking scary dude. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Death Mask. After a revolutionary procedure performed by Reed Richards removed a lethal brain tumor, Wade Wilson became a super genius and used his newfound intellect to erect a criminal empire. Wade began wearing armor styled after Dr. Doom and went by Death Mask. After killing Deathwish, which was Victor Von Doom, who was the Deadpool of this reality that the Deadpool of the mainstream continuity was actually quite fond of, Death Mask decided to take down his alter ego. After being defeated, Death Mask made a contract with Mephisto to unleash monsters to Earth, including the demon Infernal Hulk. Not to mention that he has the powers of Deadpool and Dr. Doom, with an even cooler color scheme than the original Dr. Doom. But ultimately, in at number 2, Venom Pool. Venom Pool is an alternate reality version of Deadpool from Earth 90211. He is the combination of Deadpool and the Venom symbiote. Being a part of Earth 90211, he is part of the reality Beyonder loves partying in. A reality that's perpetually stuck in the 1980s in many regards, much like my father. Venom Pool is the Beyonder's go-to party animal, until the party gets boring for the Beyonder. But Deadpool was actually originally meant to kill Beyonder before discovering how much he liked the partying lifestyle. And once Spider-Man showed up demanding that the Beyonder remove the symbiote, this is when Deadpool becomes Venom Pool. He's later seen in one of the Evil Deadpool's Evil Deadpool core, and he is presumably killed shortly after this point, but we still don't know. His appearance changed rather drastically in the time between What If Venom possessed Deadpool number 1 and Deadpool kills Deadpool number 2. In his initial appearance, Venom Pool looked like he was a cross between Venom, Deadpool, and Rick James, and in his recent appearances he looks like Deadpool but with like a Venom mouth and more ripped. And finally, in at number 1, Poison Deadpool. The Poisons are a species of crystalline extraterrestrials spawned by the Poison Queen, originating on Earth 17952. The Poisons spent an unknown amount of time as prey for larger, stronger creatures before discovering that they could assimilate symbiotes and their hosts to become more powerful. While hunting the Venom symbiote, they were discovered by an incarnation of Doctor Strange, who bonded to the symbiote and proceeded to recruit an army of venomized superheroes, anti-heroes, and supervillains from across the multiverse to stop the Poisons. However, the Poisons saw this as an opportunity to swell their ranks, and most of these recruits were either killed or assimilated. When Venom Pool was summoned to the Earth dealing with these Poisons, he ended up willingly surrendering himself to a group of Poisons, thinking that the host's original personas were not completely extinguished, and banking on his insanity, granting him additional resistance to this process. This theory was proven correct though, as though his body was consumed to create Poison Deadpool, his mind remained intact, and he was able to suppress that of the poison that had consumed him. So while Deadpool was uncertain how long he could suppress the Poison's psyche, he helped the Resistance infiltrate the Poison's lair, which I mean has gotta be one of the most Deadpool things that you could fucking do. Like, I'm super overpowered with the symbiote, so I'm going to willingly give myself over to these things that could potentially take over my mind, but I don't fucking care, because I'm gonna be even more powerful, and then if I am crazy enough to just not have to deal with it, then I'm just gonna help the good guys, because I don't fucking care. Jesus. Deadpool, man.
Number 10, Ultimate Deadpool. While the Ultimate timeline is said to be parallel to the 616 main continuity timeline, technically the Ultimate continuity of Earth 1610 is still set in the future by comparison. The Ultimate line was actually meant to shake things up, chiefly by giving stories a more updated and modern setting. That was one of the major ways it differed, as its continuity didn't extend back to the 1960s and further back beyond that. Add in the fact that the Ultimate version of Deadpool is later revealed to be a cyborg, having fully converted to match their fellow Reaver brethren, and you have a pretty futuristic version of Deadpool here. Basically, evil robot Deadpool in this universe. Number 9, Horsemen of Apocalypse. In this alternate reality of Earth 16558, Deadpool was chosen to become a Horseman of Apocalypse. Here, Deadpool was ordered to join the rest of the Horsemen in defeating and destroying the young X-Men who were trespassers in their home of Omega World, and retrieving the Ark that they carried with them, which held within it hundreds of mutant embryos. In this reality, many of Apocalypse's choices for his Horsemen are actually not really mutant in origin. Also on this deadly team is Venom and Moon Knight. Later, Colossus, who attempts to buy time for the young X-Men, is also recruited into their ranks, being the only technical mutant other than Apocalypse on the team. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more Deadpool lists or more future alternate versions lists, be sure to let us know by clicking that like and commenting below. Also, if you haven't already, go follow us on Facebook. We got some cool stuff for you over there. Number 8, Deadman Wade. Deadman Wade appears in the Age of Apocalypse alternate future reality. Here, Apocalypse succeeds in taking over the world, and Deadpool is recruited into becoming one of his Pale Riders. In this reality, Deadpool is not much of a jokester, but instead is extremely sad and quite depressed. As a Pale Rider, he is constantly mistreated by Danny Moonstar, his teammate, who is also part of the Pale Riders in this reality. Deadpool in this reality is rapidly decaying, which causes him to feel immense pain, almost all the time. In the end, he is killed by Nightcrawler, who teleports his head away from his body to do so. Deadman Wade, however, would later be resurrected and would go on to join the evil Deadpool Corps, appearing alongside them in the series Deadpool Kills Deadpool. Number 7, Agent Deadpool. This Deadpool is never really given a name like most alternates who appear as a member of the evil Deadpool Corps. However, he does seem to have some pretty fancy tech and the ability to body slide, and I would assume potentially time slide. He appears in Deadpool Kills Deadpool, a series by Cullen Bunn where Dreadpool seeks to create his own team of evil Deadpools so that he might use them to wipe out every Deadpool in the Marvel multiverse. Dreadpool, by the way, is the same version of Deadpool known for killing the entire Marvel universe. Agent Deadpool, as I've chosen to call him, is one of Dreadpool's agents who appears in the first issue of Deadpool Kills Deadpool. He takes out Headpool, Golden Age Deadpool, and sadly, Dogpool, before Deadpool of the main reality of Earth 616 avenges their deaths by killing Agent Deadpool in turn, using Agent Deadpool's own anti-regeneration or anti-Deadpool ray. Number 6, Eternity Deadpool. This Deadpool only makes a brief appearance in Doom War issue number 5. Here, Deadpool is recruited into a mission to help retrieve the 10,000 tons of vibranium that Dr. Doom stole from Wakanda. When Deadpool passed through the Nowhere Room, he's turned temporarily into a kind of a splat of goo and organs. I say temporarily because, well, he's Deadpool, so he does get better because he got that healing factor. And quite quickly too, I will say. During this time, however, we also get a glimpse into multiple alternate versions of Deadpool from the multiverse, one of which happens to be a version in which Deadpool goes on to become the new Eternity. Number 5, Old Head Deadpool. This alternate version of Deadpool comes from the Wastelanders or Old Man Logan reality of Earth 807128. Here, Deadpool appears to have survived the uprising of supervillains, destruction of the Earth, and post-apocalyptic setting of this continuity. At least, his head did. We see him as a head in a jar in Wastelander's Hawkeye, where he is kept in a bar that Juggernaut frequents, and is potentially the boss of? Although he no longer has a body, this Merc still has kept his mouth, and still uses it to crack wise at almost any opportunity that presents itself. Number 4, Deadpool 2099. Deadpool 2099 is Werda Wilson, the daughter of Shikla and Deadpool. While in 2099, Deadpool also exists, although it is actually Werda who holds her father hostage, along with Emily Preston, the adoptive mother of Eleanor Preston, who is also Deadpool's daughter. Warda kidnaps them both in hopes of finding out what happened to her mother, Shikla, who basically went missing. While she is the daughter of Deadpool, Wade never really knew about her until then because Shikla and Deadpool split up before she was born, and Shikla basically decided to keep Warda's existence a secret from Wade. Like her dad, this future legacy version of Deadpool, Warda Wilson, also has a healing factor. Number 3. Legacy Deadpool. Deadpool has more than one daughter actually. He also has Ellie Camacho, also known in this future as Eleanor Preston. She is the adopted daughter of Deadpool and Emily Preston in the future of Earth 16356, the same reality that Warda is also existing in. Here Ellie ends up manifesting immortality powers, with her basically regenerating upon her death, being reborn with all of her prior memories, but basically reset to look as she did when her powers first manifested. In other words, she becomes a teenager physically again, and then grows from there whenever she dies. Ellie has always been one of my favorites when it comes to heroes kids out there, and although I loved Shikla and Deadpool together, I have always preferred Ellie to their daughter, Warda. Ellie takes up her father's mantle and is known by the codename Deadpool in this reality. Deadpool Ellie goes on to fight against her half-sister, Deadpool Warda, in the future, who is also of course known as Deadpool 2099, one of them. Number 2. Future X-Men. During Battle of the Atom, a future Deadpool appears as part of the future X-Men team. He is there in an attempt to send the all-new X-Men, or past X-Men, back to their time, convincing them to return, where they belong. This alternate version of Wade also seems to be a fan of Gold Balls. He claims in the future that Gold Ball's apparently a legend and asks for his autograph, though I don't know if we know if he's joking. In reality, the X-Men team that he is a part of is not really a future X-Men team, but is instead a future Brotherhood of Evil Mutants team, ha ha ha, led by the evil son of Professor X and Mystique, Charles Xavier II, and the evil son of Wolverine and Mystique, Reyes. Number 1. Days of Future Past. Deadpool managed to retcon an old future version of himself into Days of Future Past, and appears in Cosmic Ghost Rider's story where he himself is doing some meddling in the future timeline, which for him is currently the past. Does that make sense? Or have I lost you yet? I feel like time travel, we lose everyone at some point. Still, Cosmic Ghost Rider decides to call it the future to simplify, so I think it's fair that we do so too. Here, Deadpool appears to have somehow become the leader of the X-Men. His original plan was to send Kitty Pryde back in time, but when Cosmic Ghost Rider steals the valuable jammer component she was meant to transport to help prevent the bleak dystopian future, Deadpool decides to send Cosmic Ghost Rider back in time instead. This all goes down in the series Cosmic Ghost Rider destroys Marvel history in issue number 3. What is your favorite future alternate version of Deadpool? Do you like when Deadpool gets all timey-wimey with his alternates, or do you just prefer when they are just from alternate worlds and have just distinct differences, like Lady Deadpool, or Evil Deadpool, or Panda Deadpool? Panda Pool?
Number 10. Swordsman. When the world's heroes gave up their lives in order to destroy the villain Onslaught, what they didn't know is that Franklin Richards had subconsciously created a pocket universe to save everyone. No one knew of this, and they spent an entire year on this counter-Earth reliving their new lives as heroes reborn, because that was the name of the comic. One of these heroes that seemed to be native to this pocket universe was a guy by the name of Swordsman. Swordsman was a member of the Avengers, and he was with them in their fights with Loki, Kang, and the Hulk, and eventually he became the last Avenger when the other Avengers went back to Earth 616. Now sadly, Swordsman ended up getting cancer, and in an effort to keep the world safe, he created a new team of heroes called the Remnants, leading them under his new name, Deadpool. Unfortunately, he had to retire from superheroing because of the cancer, but then, in a sudden twist, Deadpool/Swordsman learns that his entire reality and everyone in it is actually just the fabrication of a young boy named Franklin, and he goes absolutely mad and wants to destroy the entire dimension. He steals a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier filled with nuclear boom booms, and then launches all of them at the Watcher's Citadel on the moon, riding one of them along the way. Turns out he actually creates a tear in space and time and meets an evil core of Deadpool's, and he joins up. Number 9. Kidpool. I am putting Kidpool on this list for pretty much one reason. 2 words. Lightsabers. Technically, it's one word, just let me live. Anyone who wields a lightsaber is automatically just better, okay? And when that person is a pre-puberty Wade Wilson, and he wields not just one, but 2 lightsabers? is beautiful. Hailing from Earth 10330, Wade Wilson was a new student of the Xavier Orphanage for Troubled Boys, and he really was a troubled boy. Unfortunately, this means he was a little bit of a loner. He got put in detention with a kid version of Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, and so Wade and Scott decided to team up and escape from detention and go crash the prom so Scott could be with Jean Grey. At the prom, Wade ended up getting into a battle of fisticuffs with the kid-sized version of Logan, aka Wolverine, and the fight made the prom come to a halt and saw Kidpool get embarrassed in front of all the other kids. So he decided to leave, but just when that happened, he was confronted by 616 Deadpool and joined up with his good guy Deadpool Corps. Number 8. Hulkpool. Hulked Out Heroes is a nice, sweet little 2-issue comic that is honestly just the best. Basically, MODOK and the leader had gamma mutated a few pretty powerful heroes like Thor and the Thing and Wolverine and a whole bunch of them, and that on its own is dope. But they also gamma mutated Deadpool so that he is now Hulkpool, and he and Bob decided to head off to do their own thing. They head to Thunder's base and use her time machinery, and Bob sends Hulkpool back through time with the intention of crushing his normal weak Deadpool self. Because, I don't know, I guess paradoxes don't exist here. Instead, Bob accidentally sends Hulkpool on a trip through time, starting in 1717 on board a pirate ship where Ben Grimm, the Thing, has taken on the role of Blackbeard. Hulkpool joins him as his first mate, and they face off against a giant squid until Bob sends them back even further and they come face to face with Devil Dinosaur. After that whole chaotic journey, all three of them are time displaced to the Wild West where, of all people, they run into Hawkeye. Hulkpool travels again, but this time he ends up at the exact moment when Captain America and Bucky Barnes are in the process of completing the mission where Bucky tragically passes away, quote unquote, because we know what actually happens. And Hulkpool stops the whole thing from happening in the first place. Not only that, but he helps Cap take down the Red Skull and Germany's leader in one go. Not bad. He stops Matt Murdock from getting covered in toxic waste, Doctor Strange from getting in his car crash, the Fantastic Four from going to space, Donald Blake from becoming Thor, Peter Parker from being bit by a spider, Tony Stark from being taken hostage, and Bruce Banner from being gamma irradiated. All before he finally faces himself from the day before, only to find out that he's created a whole new timeline and that pirate Ben Grimm became the first president of the United States, and Bob is hailed as a god. Number 7. Venompool. Venompool hails from Earth 90211 from a reality stuck in the 1980s. In the story, the Beyonder decided to live the life of the party, and Spider-Man is still bonded with the Venom symbiote. Well, when Deadpool is hired by Galactus to kill the Beyonder, Deadpool tracked down his target to a nightclub, but found he was enticed into the Beyonder's partying lifestyle, getting jerry curls in the process. While hanging out with the Beyonder in a flying limousine, because of course, Spider-Man breaks into the car out of nowhere and demands Beyonder remove the symbiote costume from him. In a freak moment, Spider-Man is attacked by the limo driver, and the symbiote ends up bonding with Deadpool instead. After a while, the Beyonder got sick of the Deadpool/symbiote amalgamation and ditches him, which you can imagine didn't sit very well with Venompool. He ends up going back to his mission and tries to bring down the Beyonder with a weapon called the Recton Expungifier. There's a lot to this story, but I don't want to rob you the satisfaction of reading it yourself, so we're moving on. Number 6. Gwenpool. Gwenpool came from a universe a lot like ours, meaning superheroes were all fictional characters in her world with origins and stories printed in comic books. Well, Gwen was obsessed with them. Thanks to a series of events, when she wound up in the Marvel Universe, she put on a costume and became a mercenary as Gwenpool. Gwen is a regular human, but she knew all this was fictional inside a comic book, which allows her to completely break the fourth wall, which has helped her snag victories on multiple occasions, not to mention the fact that she knows everything about pretty much every hero. Her knowledge that everything is in a comic book also allows her to completely detach from anyone she is hired to take down, making her a pretty effective Merc. Despite that, Gwen has grown to care for the people that inhabit her adopted universe, though she continues to believe that she is a fictional character in a comic book. Gwen's chief enemy is MODOK, the mental organism designed only for killing. Gwen was part of MODOK's mercenary group for a short time until the boss realized that Gwen possessed no actual skills at all, making him pretty peed off. Gwenpool is awesome, and she has the ability to bring people into the space between comic panels, which is just a level of meta that I'm not ready for right now. Number 5. Death Mask Deadpool. When Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, comes up with a revolutionary new method for dealing with cancer, he removes removes a tumor from Wade Wilson's head. What I think no one expected was that removing this tumor had the side effect of making Wade's insanity completely disappear. Deadpool suddenly becomes hyper intelligent, and his insanity instead turns him into becoming a super criminal with a super criminal empire. Now going by Death Wish and looking a hell of a lot like Dr. Doom, Wade basically is Dr. Doom, taking his place as King of Latveria and wearing a super sweet death mask armor. He plans to attack the alternate Earth 616 Deadpool, but when he's defeated, he goes and makes a deal with Mephisto to unleash a literal hell on his Earth. Number 4. Captain Universe Pool. In the comic Deadpool v Thanos, in the Patchwork Battle World, Thanos and Deadpool team up to look for Lady Death. Turns out that the entity had been kidnapped by a rival cosmic force, Eternity. And it turns out that Eternity is pretty peeved about being ridiculed and separated by the Infinity Gems and Galactus' hunger and the Annihilation Wave and Death's Embrace. I don't know. The In-Betweener comes in to talk some sense into Eternity, but meanwhile Deadpool sees an opportunity and tries freeing Mistress Death, which didn't go so smoothly, and a fight breaks out. Thanos betrays Deadpool and starts to completely pummel Eternity, a cosmic entity, which makes no sense to me. Deadpool attacks Thanos, who simply throws the Merc with the mouth into Eternity. Now this is where it starts to get wacky, apparently. Inside the cosmic being, Wade meets the Unipower, who bestows that power onto Wade, and boom, enter Captain Universe Deadpool. With his newfound power, he was able to go blow for blow with a death-powered Thanos. Deadpool doesn't technically win, but Death is able to see the error of her ways, and she takes back her power from Thanos, causing Grimace to explode. Nice. Number 3. Lady Pool. Wanda Wilson is the Deadpool of Earth 3010. But since she is one of a very few female Deadpools, she naturally is titled Lady Pool. Lady Deadpool joined the side of a group of rebels fighting against loyalists in the United States in her own universe, that were led by Lady Pool's nemesis, General America. Yes, that's Captain America, but a general. According to Wanda, the fight started when fascists in the federal government started to impose their will on the people. As a result, a schism in Congress occurred, generals took sides, and states declared independence, which led to the current predicament. Eventually, she is assisted by 616 Deadpool, and she ends up becoming a main part of the good Deadpool Corps. And eventually, she becomes the leader of that group, sacrificing herself and the Corps' ship in a fight against the evil Deadpool Corps and Galactus Pool. Number 2. Ultimate Deadpool. The Ultimate Universe has a lot of fresh takes on 616 heroes, but Deadpool got some rather unique changes that I'm not sure how I feel about, honestly. It's giving me strong X-Men Origins Wolverine vibes, which came out 3 years after this comic, so I'm not saying this comic inspired whatever they did to Deadpool in that movie, but I can't say that it didn't. Just saying, pointing that out. The Ultimate Marvel version of Deadpool was a sergeant in the military named Wade Wilson. He's grim, he's angry, he's way too serious, and he's also an incredibly racist mutant hater. Oh, he was also a cyborg with incredible strength, retained his signature healing factor, and instead of just being disfigured, he had no skin at all, and is missing parts of his skull. So his head instead is encased in a clear plastic helmet for everyone to see. Yay! Deadpool leads the Reavers, who are also pretty horrible in trying to take out prominent mutants, but on live television, like it was for sport or something. Thankfully, Ultimate Deadpool was taken off of the board by 616 Deadpool and Deadpool Kills Deadpool in 2013. Deadpool. Number 1. Dreadpool. In the Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe storyline, Deathpool murders every single superhero there is in his quest to end all of creation. Deathpool even rises against the divine powers that created the Marvel Universe, meaning the literal writers, and he won. We're introduced to this character being dragged to Psycho Man by the X-Men in an attempt to cure Wade of his insanity. Psycho Man's procedure silenced all the voices in Deadpool's head, but brought out a new one, the Ultimate Murderer. This voice is aware of himself being a fictional character and is adamantly convinced that his only salvation is to kill everything there is. Dreadpool went on a complete killing spree, ending the lives of the X-Men, the Avengers, Dr. Doom, Taskmaster, Thanos, and Galactus, but he didn't stop there. The Ultimate Murderer persona had gone so far that he decided to eradicate other versions of himself, namely the 616 Deadpool. Dreadpool and Deadpool each made their own Deadpool cores, assembled from alternate Deadpools throughout the multiverse, and they went head to head. But you can read that for yourself.
Number 10, Deadpool Samurai. So I actually have this manga. Well, I have part 1 of it, the first volume, I think. I haven't read it yet, but I have flipped through it, and honestly, it looks pretty interesting. It caught my eye when I was at an Indigo, and I was like, I have to read this at some point. This is the Deadpool of Earth 346. He is actually a character in a manga that Marvel made in collaboration with Shonen Jump Plus. If you can believe that. He was created by Sanshiro Kasama and Hikaru Usagi. He made his first appearance in Marvel times Shonen Jump Plus Super Collaboration issue number 5. Marvel has actually collaborated with Shonen a few different times. I think Deadpool's appearance was part of their 3rd collaboration together, which to me is crazy. And in terms of his own series, Deadpool Samurai, he's had actually 15 volumes so far. That's wild. With the most recent one coming out last year in 2022 in June. Must be good if they got at least 15 volumes of it. Someone must be loving this. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd and you're not already, why not take a second and subscribe? You should do it. Deadpool Samurai would do it. Number 9, Ultimate Deadpool. If you are more interested in hearing about a version of Deadpool who is completely different from his usual 616 or MCU self, Ultimate Universe Deadpool might be your style. This version of the character first appeared in the Earth 1610 reality, but he actually also went multiversal in his adventures with the rest of the evil Deadpool Corps. While Wade Wilson himself is usually known as being a friend to the mutants, even when they ask him to please not be so friendly with them, this version of the character, known as Wadey Wilson, actually hunts mutants instead. Where Deadpool usually has a darkness within himself that he kinda hides with a sometimes dark sense of humor, this version of Deadpool is more just straight up dark, believing in human rights over mutant rights. Actually, I don't think he even thinks mutants should have rights. He's like, no rights for the mutants. Number 8, Deadman Wade. Deadman Wade kinda reminds me in terms of his look of the DC Comics Deadman, but in terms of what he's like when it comes to his powers and abilities, he is still very much similar to Earth 616's Deadpool. This version of Wade got his powers from Apocalypse. He ended up being a member of Apocalypse's team of Pale Riders, his group of elite assassins. He made his first appearance in the 1995 comic Excalibur in issue number 1. He would end up being killed in his universe when Nightcrawler removed his head from his body and teleported away with it. However, he'd later be resurrected only to be killed again when he ended up joining the evil Deadpool Corps in the Deadpool Kills Deadpool series. Number 7, Venompool. Oddly enough, when it comes to Venompool, there has actually been more than one of this alternate Deadpool created. As you may have guessed from the name alone, Venompool is a combination of Venom and Deadpool. Initially originated as a concept in the What If comic that answered the question, what if Venom possessed Deadpool? Here Venompool also sported a Jerry curl perm hairstyle for some reason. I guess he thought it looked cool. There's also an even more epic looking version of this character though, who appears in Marvel Contest of Champions, which I highly recommend you look up, although you could probably see him in this video, probably put a picture of him up, but yeah, he looks scary. Number 6, Deadpool 2099. Because after the success of Spider-Man 2099 in the comics, every character was getting their own version. Although it might surprise some Deadpool fans to know that it actually took a bit longer for Deadpool to get his. Making her appearance in 2016, Warda Wilson is the futuristic daughter of Shikla and Deadpool. She's the daughter we never got from that couple since they ended up breaking up and getting divorced. Sad. The original version of Warda appeared in Jerry Dugan's Deadpool run in issue number 6. Here we are introduced to her as Wade's daughter from a version of the 2099 future. She actually hails originally from Earth 16356, which is not the same reality that Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man 2099 hails from, considered the main 2099 reality of Earth 928. Warda becomes Deadpool in this future despite hating her father, who had already broken things off with her mom before she was even born. Number 5, MCU. It's weird to call Ryan Reynolds' take on the character the Marvel Cinematic Universe version, but truly, he is now officially. Deadpool will be joining the MCU with his next motion picture, and I honestly couldn't be more excited to see what that could mean for the character. I personally am wondering if this is the film that sees the X-Men properly and finally introduced to the cinematic universe now that the Fox merger is complete. I mean, we've been waiting for a long time. Just give us something. I know Wolverine will be there, but I need more. However, at the same time, technically the first MCU mutant may have been Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel. We'll have to wait and see though, as we hopefully learn more about Kamala and what is going on with her her in the Marvels film. But based on what's happening with her in the comics, I'm thinking that's where we're headed. Why do I love MCU Deadpool? Probably because he was the version of the character who got me the most interested in diving deeper into Wade Wilson's tragic and often hilarious adventures in the comics. Seriously, I saw the movies, loved it, and then I was like, I gotta read all these Deadpool comics, and then I did it, and I loved it. It was a good time. You should do it too, if you haven't already. Number 4. Fox Original. Technically, there is another live-action version of Deadpool also running around in the Marvel Universe, played as well by Ryan Reynolds. Or well, used to be running around in the Marvel Universe, not so much anymore. This version of the character, however, was much less comic book accurate, appearing in the Fox X-Men spin-off film X-Men Origins Wolverine, which of course focused solely on Wolverine's origin story. In the film, Ryan Reynolds plays Wade Wilson, an overly talkative and jokey mercenary who later becomes the Merc without a mouth after being experimented on himself by Weapon X and becoming their pawn to be used in a fight against Wolverine. I know way too much about why this was all done and the plans for this version of the character and what was going to happen with it, but let's just keep going. Despite how inaccurate and goofy this version of the character ended up being, he still paved the way for the other, more comic book accurate adaptation that Reynolds would also later portray, also working once again with Fox. Although this time doing the character some very deserved justice, I think, especially after this version exists. In Deadpool 2, Deadpool also gets to travel back in time to clean up this completely weird mistake of an adaptation by killing this version of the character. So, yay! Number 3. Warda Wilson. I know what you're thinking. Didn't we already talk about Warda as Deadpool 2099? Well, that's actually not the only version of Warda, or Warda as Deadpool, in the multiverse, if you can believe it. I actually wonder where is the alternate version of Warda who just becomes queen of the underworld like her mom. This version of Warda, though, also did not do that. Instead, she once again followed in her father's footsteps in this reality. This version of Warda as Deadpool hails from 2022's Spider-Man 2099 Exodus. This version of the character was created by Steve Orlando and Kim Jacinto. I think this makes sense considering that when I read Orlando's stuff, it also kind of reminds me of Dugan's writing sometimes, and you know, Dugan is the one that originally gave us Warda, and I say that in a good way too. I like Orlando and I like Dugan, so it's a good thing. The reality this Warda hails from is also sadly not the main 2099 reality of Earth 928, but instead the other alternate reality of the 2099 future, there are so many, known aptly as Earth 2099, which I actually like better for that Earth. I'm just like, yeah, why don't we just call it Earth 2099? It's a lot cleaner in my mind. Number 2. Gwenpool. Technically an alternate of both Gwen Stacy and Deadpool combined. Gwendolyn Poole existed originally in a world where there were no superheroes, or rather, like in our world, where superheroes only exist in stories, comics, cartoons, and films. While never confirmed, her home reality, because of this fact, is actually suspected to be the same one that we exist in now, designated Earth 1218 in the comics. She eventually comes to Earth 616, and because heroes do exist here, she sets out to become one herself. However, due to a mistake on her form when she was getting her suit made, her codename was believed to be Gwenpool, when in reality, Gwenpool, with an E at the end, is really just her actual name. While she looks like Gwen Stacy, she acts more like Deadpool, although I'd argue she is less grating than he is, and has a bit more charm than the original as a Deadpool alternate. I also really love her suit. I gotta do a Gwenpool cosplay at some point. I love Gwenpool, she's so cool. That rhymes, so you know it's true. Number 1. Wolverine Pool. We all know that Wolverine and Deadpool don't normally get along, though not for Deadpool's lack of trying, goodness knows. Deadpool is actually kind of fond of Wolverine and seems to genuinely enjoy teaming up with him at times, whereas Wolverine, like most supers out there, often gets easily annoyed if he's forced to work with Wade. Although to be fair to Wade, I mean Wolverine doesn't usually like working with people anyways, he's usually a pretty grumpy Gus. In fact, the last team up that I've seen of Wolverine and Deadpool in the Benjamin Percy run of Wolverine was honestly pretty brutal, with Wolverine doing all sorts of terrible things to Deadpool just because he could. It's so mean. However, Marvel also knows how much we love reading this ridiculous team up, and so what did they do? They made a literal mashup character known as Wolverine Pool. Wolverine Pool first appeared in the 2007 comic Cable and Deadpool issue number 46. Sadly, his existence was pretty short-lived as he died a few years later. He ended up choosing to join up with the evil Deadpool Corps during Deadpool Kills Deadpool, which ultimately meant he had to lose because he was evil and therefore die. Though I am confident that one day this character will be resurrected. I mean, he's made up of 2 insanely popular characters, so they have to bring him back, right? At some point. Eventually. We just gotta wait. I mean, he did die, I think, in 2013, so we might be waiting for a while, but I think he's coming back. Marvel, if you're watching this, do it for me.
Gwenpool, the ultimate it girl. She was featured on a variant cover for Deadpool's Secret Wars #2. Not in it, just on the cover. Fans loved her aesthetic though, and soon she was being cosplayed all over the place. Seeing how much fans loved the character design, Marvel decided to make her the starring character in a one-shot, later a full series. Technically, she was first featured as the backup story on a Howard the Duck comic, but her first comic, just hers, was Gwenpool Special 1, and then her series was The Unbelievable Gwenpool. After that ended, she had a limited series in 2019 called Gwenpool Strikes Back. Apparently, she is from the real world. She wasn't living the life she wanted to here. She was unemployed and a high school dropout, and her bright spot was the Marvel comics. Her and her brother figured out how to transport themselves into the Marvel universe. When she gets there, she orders an all-pink costume from a super tailor and retcons the Marvel universe into thinking she's a mutant. She has a lot of fun and looks great doing it. I get why people cosplayed her so much. I too want her pink heart umbrella. As a big fan of comic books and breaker of the fourth wall, she used her knowledge of comic tropes to avoid some catastrophes, and even used her vast knowledge to figure out the weaknesses of those she's fighting. Good news is, if you want your own Gwenpool, they make Funko Pops of her. Wizardpool shows up a whole 2 times in Deadpool Kills Deadpool, and yet he has my full attention. He is, unfortunately, on the side of the bad Deadpools. He has a normal Deadpool red costume, but the fun part is he's added a wizard hat and cape. Makes him pretty easy to identify. Wizardpool is very powerful. In issue 4 of Deadpool Kills Deadpool, he is seen sending an energy blast through Nightpool. Nightpool is in a suit of armor, so we know he's powerful enough to blast through Deadpool and metal. We don't see Wizardpool's demise, but at the end, it is pretty clear that only one Deadpool makes it out, and it is from 616. The only other Deadpool known to survive is Evil Deadpool. I predict that by the end of this video, pool will be a meaningless word to me. Wolverine Pool is double cool because he is both Wolverine and Deadpool. He's got all the mercenary skills of Deadpool with all the tricked out body parts of Wolverine. I'm talking the claws and the Atom Skeleton. We know this for a fact because when he gets incinerated in Deadpool Kills Deadpool, all that's left is a very shiny clawed set of bones. Wolverine Pool has all the scars of regular Deadpool, so we can assume that he either didn't get the healing factor or it works a bit slower. But either way, the last time he was seen is in issue 3. He is not to be confused with the Deadpool Wolverine that was genetically created. Speaking of, his name is Junior, and we meet him in Deadpool The End. He is technically only seen on 1 page, but we do know quite a bit about him. The End is all about Deadpool dreaming up different endings for himself. One of them is a world where his and Wolverine's DNA gets mixed up. A pharmaceutical company stole the DNA of the pair to create their Wolverine pool. They got Deadpool's DNA because he took a joke ancestry test 200 years ago. The result is a semi-horrifying, very big giant of a monster, plus a bunch of regular-sized human ones. It takes both heroes to take him and all the others down, but they also get taken down in the process. And do you know how hard it is to take down a Deadpool and a Wolverine? This particular ending for Deadpool is described as the bloodiest, and it is directly stated that Junior committed a mass ending of life. So that hybrid Wolverine pool must have put up a fight. It's definitely an interesting concept for a story. The last panel does have a brick wall that says break if the writers ever get writer's block, so maybe the story will come to light eventually. Maybe even in the new movie, wouldn't that be something? For someone filled with so much self-loathing, Deadpool sure can be full of himself. His ego has grown pretty big, and it's about to get planet-sized, literally. Ego Pool, that is Ego Deadpool, is the Deadpool version of Ego the Planet. You may recognize that name from the MCU's Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as Star-Lord's dad. That's a planet. But that's not the case in the comics. Ego is still a living planet, just has no relation to Star-Lord. Which is good news. In the world of Ego Pool, we don't need a Star-Lord pool running around. If Ego Pool has all the powers of the original, which I'm assuming he does because most Deadpools that are other characters as Deadpools do. For example, Wolverine Pool has the super skeleton. Ego Pool then has the ability to shape its terrain at will, can absorb living things, and shoot powerful energy blasts, plus a whole lot more things you wouldn't want Deadpool to do. He's featured right alongside Hello Kitty Deadpool, who we'll get to later. Coming in hot, all the way from Earth 51,315 is Panda Pool. Panda really really does come in hot. He bursts into the frame and takes out Deathlockpool in the process. His official description is, he is no mere panda, he is Pandapool, the species that endangers you. Love that, and he's on the side of the good Deadpools. Amazing. We know he is very strong and doesn't speak, he just growls, but he understands English, so I'm guessing that means there are people in his universe. On the Marvel Strike Force website, it says Pandapool is specifically a giant panda with a love for bamboo and explosions. Pandapool can fight. He goes on a mini mission with Deadpool and takes out a bunch of other evil pools on the way. Which, do you know how hard it is to successfully take out a Deadpool again? Personally, I've never done that, so I wouldn't know firsthand, but it looks really hard. Panda heads into the nexus of all realities with Deadpool true, and the good Deadpools fight the evil ones. Pandapool puts up a great fight, taking out I think Whalepool, but he doesn't make it in the end. It's very tragic. Deadpool true has a movie moment screaming no at the sky while Squirrelpool and Birdpool fight in the back. It's beautiful. Pandapool, you will be missed. You've heard of Pandapool now, but what about Birdpool? Popular Deadpool variant Dreadpool enters the nexus of all realities, a cross-dimensional gateway that gives you access to everything, every reality, even the realities between realities. So unsurprisingly, you might meet some weird versions of yourself. In this case, Dreadpool, who is Deadpool, but a Deadpool that wants to kill everything, saw himself as a bird. Birdpool is small but mighty. He's got a little mask on and a rocket on his back. He was one of the many Deadpools in Deadpool Fights Deadpool and was last seen fighting Squirrelpool. We know that at the end of it all, the only pools left were evil and dead, so I don't think the bird made it. He was a snitch though. The phrase a little birdie told me about him. He relayed the info about where the other Deadpool army was to Dreadpool. I've been calling him Birdpool, and that might not even be his name. The little guy went unnamed, so fans have assigned the name based on the Deadpool naming style. Pandapool, Dogpool, etc. In Dogpool's universe and Pandapool's universe, we think there are people. Just Deadpool is a dog. So there is a chance that in Birdpool's universe, he is just a bird with a rocket launcher, and I feel like if I were to walk around New York long enough, I would just see this. I will admit that Beard of Bees you may have seen before, because he's appeared twice. The first was in 2010's Deadpool issue 1000. In this issue, Hot Pants Zeus creates a bunch of Deadpool clones to fight each other, average Zeus activities. Beard of Beespool gets a panel to himself showing him off as one of the many new Deadpool clones. After the Deadpool brawl, we don't see Bees again, so he's presumed dead until 2013 when Deadpool Kills Deadpool comes out. He is in issue 2, and this time actually doesn't make it out. Confirmed hit on him, we see it with our own eyes. He was offed because he betrayed the evil Deadpools by feeding info to the good Deadpools. Since Beard of Beespool is known to be a clone of Deadpool true, that means he's got all the powers and strength of the original. It's unclear where he had been hanging out for the 3 years between the comics, but I'd love to find out. Hopefully a one-shot comes out or something explaining the life of the bee guy. We are heading into Jurassic Park territory now with Dinosaur Pool, or Deadpool Dinosaur. He was, once again, featured in Deadpool Kills Deadpool. He is a combination of Deadpool and Devil Dinosaur. Devil Dinosaur is a mutant T-Rex, meaning he has human-level intelligence and super dino durability and strength. In the Deadpool comics, he is partnered with Moon Boy, pictured riding on his back. As cool as he is, we must stay focused because Dinopool is not one of the good guys. Because of this, he and Moon Boy perished at the hands of Deadpool True. Deadpool Dinosaur was from Earth TRN 321. Presumably he had a healing factor like Deadpool True. He just wasn't given a chance to use it as he quickly got incinerated. Deadpool beat him once, and I also wouldn't want to fight the dino a second time no matter how cool he is. It was only a matter of time before a Hello Kitty Deadpool hit the panel. Hello Kitty Pool is featured in Doom War 5 from 2010. She's so cute, she has her own little suit, ears covered, 2 swords at her disposal. In Deadpool Kills Deadpool, which came out in 2013, we learned that because Deadpool is the only character to know that the world is fake, he can technically create new versions of himself if he thinks them up. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how Hello Kitty Pool came to be. The comics and films touch on how much of a fan Deadpool is of a cute cat. There's a few variant covers of Deadpool surrounded by Hello Kitty, and in the film, some Hello Kitty lip gloss and a pretty famous Hello Kitty backpacker scene tumbling around. The only person the official Deadpool film account follows is Hello Kitty, and it's been like that for a minimum of 8 years. Disney currently does not own the rights to Hello Kitty, but I'm holding out hope that Hello Kitty Pool will make a surprise cameo in the upcoming movie Deadpool and Wolverine.
Number 10. Deadpool Dinosaur. Deadpool Dinosaur is a version of Deadpool that is a T-Rex. The main thing that indicates his Deadpool-ness is that he's wearing a Deadpool mask and is part of the evil Deadpool Corps. The evil Deadpool Corps are a group of villainous Deadpools originally led by an alternate Deadpool, Dreadpool. They aim to eliminate all Deadpools across the multiverse. Deadpool works to stop them and annihilate this villainous group in the story Deadpool Kills Deadpool with the help of his own good team of Deadpools, known simply as the Deadpool Corps. Deadpool Dinosaur is accompanied by his own Moon Boy, who looks a lot like Logan in the face, if I'm being honest. Is this just me noticing this? This version of Moon Boy also fights from Deadpool Dinosaur's saddle with a big gun. The two are basically an alternate version of Moon Boy and Devil Dinosaur, with of course some Deadpool mixed in there. Number 9. Deadpool. This version of Deadpool is basically a combination of former evil AIM leader MODOK and Deadpool himself. One can assume he has the brilliant mind of MODOK but also has the brilliant fighting skills of Deadpool, even with his tiny, disproportionate arms. Not only does Deadpool seem to fight with swords, but he also has 2 turret firearms on his head. While MODOK stands for mental organism designed only for killing, Deadpool supposedly stands for destructive engine of assassination, despite panpygoptosis, obsessed with opponent liquidation. Number 8. Venompool. In a story that is continued through various What If issues, we get to meet Venompool. Venompool is an alternate version of Deadpool from the alternate Earth of 90211. Here Deadpool ends up becoming bonded with the Venom symbiote during his time with the Beyonder, following a run-in with Peter Parker, who was bonded with the symbiote at the time. The symbiote leaves a defeated Peter Parker for Deadpool and bonds with him. Later on in his life, this is a path that leads Deadpool to end up killing all the heroes of his universe, whom he does not find attractive. He does let the attractive ones live. I guess that's something, I guess. Following a therapy session with Doc Samson, who this version of Deadpool also promptly kills thereafter, he realizes he needed to be true to who he was. This allowed Venompool to accept that who he was a massive jerk, and prompted him to use a weapon called the Retcon Expungifier to wipe out the entire universe. Basically, he's in the running for being the biggest jerk of all the Deadpool alternates. Number 7. Cesspool. We don't know that much about Cesspool. Like many of the darkest alternates of Deadpool, Cesspool was part of the evil Deadpool Corps. What we do know of him is that he has a terrifying appearance and mutation. He's completely covered in mouths with a razor-sharp teeth and uses these to try and devour his opponents. Yipes. This is like something straight out of a horror movie. Number 6. Galactipool. This alternate version of Deadpool was too dark for even main continuity Deadpool himself. Galactipool shows up just as we thought the fight was coming to a close between the Deadpool Corps and the evil Deadpool Corps. Galactipool is a combination of Galactus and Deadpool, and Wade wondered where in the heck the evil Deadpool Corps even found an alternate like this Galactus Pool. Fortunately, despite him likely having I guess some kind of intense cosmic power, alternate Deadpool, Lady Deadpool, manages to defeat Galactipool using the Deadpool Corps ship, B. Arthur. Sadly, this was the end of B. Rest in peace, B. Number 5. Wolverine Pool. What happens when you take Deadpool and Wolverine and mix them together? You get Wolverine Pool. Wolverine Pool comes from the alternate Earth of 1946. Wolverine Pool is the ultimate Weapon X program weapon. He is a version of Wade Wilson who had adamantium bonded to his skeleton. He belonged to the evil Deadpool Corps and was killed during a fight with the non-evil Deadpool Corps. It is assumed that he of course has a healing factor, but not one strong enough to regenerate himself when reduced to just a skeleton, and likely a healing factor that was weaker than both the main continuity Wolverine and the main continuity Deadpool. Number 4. Red Tool. Red Tool is actually not from an alternate Marvel universe, but is actually from DC Comics. Oddly enough, while Marvel's Deadpool was created by Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza to be a parody of DC's Deathstroke, DC then decided to themselves parody Marvel's own parody of their character, creating Red Tool, who is a parody of Deadpool. He's a parody of a parody. Still, just because we are stuck in a weird perpetuation of parody doesn't mean that Red Tool has to be a super light and fun character. Although he kind of is that too. Red Tool is dark in the fact that he only fights with tools, including power tools, making his physical conflicts also appear a lot more gruesome than his Marvel counterpart. And he doesn't have a healing factor, instead he just can't feel pain, due to having a part of his brain removed, which also makes him somehow even more disturbing of a character than Marvel's Deadpool. Pretty impressive actually. Good job, DC. Number Number 3. Headpool. Headpool is the version of Deadpool from the Marvel Zombieverse of Earth 2149. He is aptly named Headpool because in the end, that is all that's left of him. A head. But a head who is still very much alive, that is, and would still very much like to eat you. This version of Deadpool was also not confined to just existing in the alternate Earth of Earth 2149. He ended up making his way to Earth 616 while he still had most of his full body actually. He ended up making his way to Earth 616 while he still had mostly his full body actually. He was thought to have been completely decimated during a fight there, but it turns out he survived, but simply had lost the rest of his body and was now just a head. Number 2. Dreadpool. One of the darkest alternates around, Dreadpool is the version of Deadpool who appeared in Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. He is from the alternate Earth of 12101, where he was driven even more insane than he already is. A therapist known as Dr. Benjamin Brighton attempted to brainwash Deadpool so he might use him for his own means. However, this failed, and instead ridded Deadpool of his standard inner voices, replacing them with a single voice. This voice in his head seemed fully aware that nothing in the Marvel Universe was actually real, and encouraged Deadpool to free everyone from this fictional prison or fictional reality by killing them all off, which Deadpool then proceeded to do. Basically, Dreadpool is from Deadpool's darkest timeline. Number 1. Evil Deadpool. Evil Deadpool is an alternate Deadpool from the main reality of Earth 616. He is sort of a Franken version of Deadpool, who was created by the deranged and psychotic Dr. Ella Whitby. Ella Whitby accidentally helped to create him from storing bits and pieces of Deadpool's body, which had been lost throughout his life while he fought. She collected these because she was obsessed with Deadpool. She was also madly in love with Wade. Though they were stored in her fridge, they were likely part of her shrine of collectibles of Deadpool. In the end, Deadpool found these parts in her fridge and tossed them out. As they thawed in the garbage bag he disposed of them in, they came to life and rejoined together to create Evil Deadpool. A version of Deadpool that is evil and just an all-around complete jerk for the sake of being one, whose fighting skills rival the real Deadpool and who also has a backwards arm, which actually proves to be surprisingly useful in fights for him.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Deadpool Kid. Wade in the Wild West. Sign me up. Wade Wilson of Earth 1108 made his first appearance in Deadpool Merc with a Mouth issue 7. Now when we meet him, he's wanted for bank robbery, arson, software piracy, and of course stampeding pygmy goats through an orphanage, you know, everyday things that we always do. And then even in the dusty days, Deadpool still finds a way to cause trouble. He would constantly boast about him wanting to take over the town, and he had his sights set on Sheriff Fury and Bounty Hunter Logan. After getting shot in the head by Earth 616 Deadpool, our main Deadpool, the kid went down. But he didn't stay down, of course. He survived and was next seen alongside Dreadpool in the hunt for evil Deadpools in the universe. Number 9. Kidpool. Similar name but much different. Kidpool comes from Earth 10330. Now he made his first appearance in Prelude to Deadpool Core issue 2, and he started his days out as a student of the Xavier Orphanage for Troubled Boys. Now due to his abrasive personality, he of course didn't fit in with the other super kids, so he was lonely most of the time. Now one day he was sent to detention with Scott Summers, and Wade convinced Scott that they should both break out and go to prom instead. I agree, I mean detention during prom, come on, that's just cruel. But in order to convince Scotty Boy to be a rebel, Wade promised him he'd help Scott get with Jean Grey. That ought to do the trick. While at prom, Kidpool caused trouble and even fought Logan. It was a hot mess. Mistress Storm stopped the fight and Kidpool was on his way out when Deadpool arrived and also recruited this Kidpool. And before we continue with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up, that would be great. It helps our channel out quite a bit. You guys are the best. Thanks for your support. Now let's get right back to this video. Number 8, Dreadpool. In the reality of Earth 12101, the X-Men brought Wade to Dr. Ben Brighton, aka Psycho Man, in an attempt to cure Wade. Now they wanted him to shut down all these voices in Wade's head, but he didn't do that. He actually did the opposite. Wade was now encouraged to kill everybody in the Marvel Universe. And he started out by going after the Fantastic Four. Reed and the Thing were toast in just a couple of pages. Sue Storm held Dreadpool off by making his head explode, but once he healed, she was next to go. Dreadpool stole a device from Reed Richards that he used to take down the Watcher. So right off the bat, things get ugly. Number 7. Evil Deadpool. Keeping those sinister vibes going, Evil Deadpool is from our 616 main universe. He actually came to life during the pages of Deadpool Volume 4, issue 44. Now, it actually all started with Ella Whitby. She was a psychiatrist who was obsessed with Wade Wilson. She was so obsessed that she would keep body parts that he lost over time. She would collect parts of him and then keep them in her freezer, you know, right next to the ice packs, of course. So when Deadpool found out about this creepy old cold collection, he threw them all in the dumpster. He just got rid of them. But that was a mistake, because once those body parts thawed out, they fused together to make another evil Deadpool. Just the smell of that freezer alone, I would have tapped out by day 3. Number 6. Wolverine Pool. This next one is a total badass, one of my favorites if you ask me. Brief, but definitely memorable. First appearing in Cable in Deadpool issue 46, we see Wade Wilson after he's undergone the Weapon X program. He has a skeleton bonded with adamantium, and then he's recruited by Dreadpool to take on the evil Deadpool core members. So he joined the battle and killed Deadpool Pulp, but during the fight, main Wade tossed a grenade full of bugs at Wolverine Pool. So the grenade went off and the bugs chewed at Wade's skin, just chewed him apart until nothing was left over except the adamantium skeleton and claws. Definitely the grossest way to go out, that's for sure. Number 5. Death Mask. While I mentioned a botched surgery earlier with Wade, this next one went exactly as planned. On Earth 11683, Reed Richards was able to remove a lethal brain tumor from Wade's head, so now he was better off than ever. No evil voices, and now he was actually a genius. But did he change the world one revolutionary invention at a time? Nope, he was a master criminal. But still, he's smart, I don't know. He built an empire. Wade went by the name Death Mask and killed that world's Victor Von Doom, and his outfit was actually a red version of Doom's. It was pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie. Even after Death Mask was beaten by our main Deadpool, it didn't end there. Death Mask made a deal with Mephisto in order to release monsters on Earth, one of those monsters being Infernal Hulk. Ouch. Number 4. Dogpool. Wade Wilson of Earth 103173, aka Dogpool, made his first appearance in Prelude to Deadpool Core issue 3. Now, Wilson was a dog being used as a test subject for Mascara X, this hot new product that could replenish itself after just one use. How beautiful and lovely and convenient, might I add. Now, this version obviously is inspired from real life animal testing and abuse that happens, so it's pretty sweet when Wilson gets superpowers. Now, they thought the dog didn't make it after a test, his body turned all corpse-like, so they got rid of it. But those regenerative abilities brought this pet back to life. A circus truck just ended up going by and seeing this immortal dog, and then Deadpool became the starring act of their show. Come and see the death-defying hound, what a headline. He was working there until Deadpool came and also recruited him for the Deadpool Core. Number 3. Deadman Wade. Coming from the Age of Apocalypse storyline on Earth 295, Deadman Wade was initially part of Apocalypse's Pale Riders. Daniel Moonstar would just torture him non-stop. That was his whole thing. But that's gotta be a bit distracting, right? While the Riders were seeking out Avalon, Damask was so annoyed by the torture and the sounds that she strangled Moonstar to death. She just couldn't take it anymore. It's like when my sister would sing Taylor Swift, I'm like, a 4-hour drive, come on. So Deadman Wade wasn't too happy at this point, but when they finally arrived to Avalon, Wade's attack on innocent people was so much that Nightcrawler deemed it necessary to end his life. And he did so by teleporting away whilst grabbing his head. If you want to see Deadman Wade in more agony, begin so with Excalibur issue 1. Number 2. Ultimate Deadpool. Wade E. Wilson from the Ultimate Comic Run, Earth 1610 that is, made his first appearance at Ultimate Spider-Man issue 91. Now, we had a pretty rough time when it comes to the Ultimates. The Ultimates are a different story, different origins, but Wade's is still bad. See, in Ultimate Spider-Man, Wade E. Wilson gets recruited to hunt down mutants on live television, which sounds like a pretty cool gig, but the government figured this is what the people want, and honestly, they're not too far off. People love tuning in. This is like the hot show. It's the talk of the town. And his appearance is even more shocking once Spider-Man unmasks him, and the fact that he does so on live television causes Wadey to go nuts. And it was even worse than that because Spider-Man made him feel horrible for how he looked. He said his face smelled like a KFC dumpster on a hot day. What a roast. Oh my god, Spider-Man, relax. And also in Ultimate Spider-Man issue 92, Spider-Man is about to be unmasked himself, but Deadpool prevents it from happening. He says to respect the mask. How ironic. Number 1. Lady Deadpool. We just met Lady Loki and she kind of stole the entire show on Disney+, so we gotta end this list with Lady Deadpool. Wanda Wilson from Earth 3010 made her first appearance in Deadpool Merc the Mouth issue 7. Now this version of Deadpool cared, dare I say. She wanted to at least feel like she belonged and was part of a bigger, more important movement. So she led an assault force against the crooked General America, which was an evil Captain America in that world, and then she eventually found her place leading the Deadpool Corps, that team I've been mentioning throughout this entire list. In fact, Lady Deadpool was the one to tip off our main 616 Wade on the whole operation. Wade actually tossed Headpool at General America, but then he bit his arm off. Headpool was from the zombie universe, so Wade had to take the General's infected arm with him after he left Wanda's Earth. All the blood, all the arms, all the Deadpools, all the fun.